Hi, and welcome back to Bounce Forward with me, Tiff. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders, past and present. Kiara messaged me, "Hi Tiff, podcast question for you. I'm in my second pregnancy and am seeing a lot of videos on social media about exercise, movements you should do to prepare your body for birth. My first birth experience wasn't ideal. So I'm wondering if there are any specific exercises that help your body prepare for birth, or if these videos I'm seeing are just a little bit of media hype. Would love to know your thoughts as someone I trust in the fitness world." Kiara, yes, let's talk about this because it's a big question I get all the time. Should I be exercising to prepare for birth? The answer is no, not at all. Women don't need to train to be fit for birth. You don't need to be doing a program to engage certain muscles that are going to help you in labor or something like that. Now, the person I always turn to is Brooke Turner, and she's been on this podcast. She is our pre- and postnatal pregnancy expert, and I'm actually going to be doing her qualifications later on this year to become a pre- and postnatal trainer myself because I have become so passionate about this very question, helping women to not feel so stressed in their pregnancies. Now, Brooke says that being fit and strong can help in labor and in postpartum recovery. Absolutely. If you are fit and strong and overall looking after yourself, it's going to help. But training for what some argue is the biggest event of their life requires regression, not progressive overload. So in any other program, you would be going with one weight and then the next week you may increase that weight and then you keep increasing that weight and you keep stimulating the muscles and they grow and, it's progressive overload. But with pregnancy, the more pregnant you get, the more you have to pull back. So it's actually regressive. You've got to modify. So I share Brooke's opinion that it is very important we help women make smarter exercise choices during pregnancy so that they can enjoy a lifetime of athleticism. It is safe to train right up to your due date, but you need to choose exercises that suit you and are scaled to your journey. I, like Brooke, trained all the way up to my due date with my second pregnancy. My first pregnancy, I was quite sick, but I was modifying, really modifying. Kiara, I urge you to go to a women's health physio or go to a pre-postnatal trainer and get some advice on how to pull back your training, regress it safely for where you're at in your second pregnancy. It's really important that you modify and that you take your time and that you don't push yourself. There are a lot of myths around training and pregnancy. And I think the biggest rule to remember is if you did it before you got pregnant, it's safe to keep doing that at a scaled back version during your pregnancy. So I'm a runner. During my pregnancy, it was safe for me to keep running. I didn't because I became a really big unit and it just felt too much on my joints at the time and my pelvic floor. But I could have kept running. If you did CrossFit before you felt pregnant, it is safe to keep doing CrossFit and those big Olympic lifts during your pregnancy if your body is used to it. Now, talking about pregnancy and birth stories, you say that you didn't have an ideal birth the first time. And I think the birthing experience, it's really hard because we all set ourselves up with these expectations to have these perfect births. And we come in with a birth plan and we say, "Hi, doctor, here is my birth plan and I would like it to go to plan." But it never does happen that way. I'll tell you a bit about my birthing stories. My first birth, I went for my 36-week checkup, I think, or 37-week checkup, just to see my doctor. Routine. You start to see the doctor every week towards the end. 37 weeks, and he had a little look around and said, "Oh, you're in labor." And I'm like, "Am I?" And I was dilated 3 centimeters. And I was feeling shocking. I was so sick with Arnold's throughout my pregnancy. I felt so terrible. I wasn't in pain and I wasn't having contractions or anything, but I was feeling really terrible this particular day. No wonder, I was already in labor. So he said, you've got a choice. You can go home, wait for your waters to break, and then come back to the hospital, or you could hang around and just we'll see if your waters break here and we'll deliver the baby when that happens. I was too scared to go home. I just thought, what if there was a delay or something in getting back traffic? I was just freaked out. Lucky I'd packed my hospital bag and it was in the boot of the car anyway, ready from like 33 weeks. And I said, I'll hang around. Well, Arnold was born 40 minutes later. It was something like 4 pushes. I went into labor and it just progressed super fast. It was actually an emergency. We had to get him out quickly because he had the cord around his neck. So I remember I was having the contractions at this time and the doctor appeared and said, we've got to get this baby out now. Heart rate had dropped and it was quite scary and he had to get the cord out from around Arnold's neck and then delivered Arnold with forceps. I had a tear, which wasn't ideal, stitched up. It was fine. I think it was a 2nd-degree tear. And Arnold was born perfect little birth weight, 3.7 kilos, and he was divine and hiccuping because he'd swallowed so much amniotic fluid in the fast birth. He flew out. And I just always am so grateful that I stayed at the hospital because otherwise I don't know what would have happened. My birth with Vader was a lot more relaxed. It was 38 weeks and I went into labor about 3:00 in the afternoon. And again, it was a pretty quick labor, 45 minutes or something. And she just came into the world. I had vaginal births for both. Again, I had a tear with Vader, but it was just a 1st-degree tear. It wasn't too bad. And the pushing was harder with Vader. I really did find that it was such an athletic experience. And again, no training in the world will ever prepare you for that and just how incredibly mortifying it is having your husband like see all of that happen. I just think I was in the zone pushing, but when I think back to it, wow, it's so I guess just wild, isn't it? The thought of a baby coming out of that area, it's incredible. And she was born at just 3 kilos. She was a little baby. In my first birth with Arnold, I didn't have time to even tell my mum I was in labor, which to this day, she hasn't forgiven me. I just was so fast that Arnold just flew out and I didn't even have time to send a text message, I'm in labor, having a baby. It was just, I sent my family in the family WhatsApp group a picture of Arnold born. But with Vader, I was able to text everyone and say, I'm in labor and I'm having a baby. And it was very exciting. And they all came into the hospital. And I'll never forget Arnold meeting Vader for the first time and having the first cuddle. And, all those moments, the siblings, oh, it's so beautiful. And it makes me want to have another baby. But don't do that to me, Kiara. I can't have any more children. They kill me. But talking about the birth stories and the little babies and the smell of their little heads and it gets me so clucky. I just love babies so much. And I loved giving birth. I really loved it. Don't love the postpartum recovery. I detest being pregnant, but I love giving birth. And I would give birth every day of the week if that was possible. I absolutely love it. It is so exciting, so athletic. It is such a heart-racing moment and the ultimate surprise. What am I having? What am I having? Like, it's just so exciting. And I've never had any excitement like that, quite like it. But I don't like being pregnant, and that's quite controversial. I know you're meant to love it and be glowing and everything, but I just don't like being pregnant and my body doesn't love it. And the postpartum recovery for me, I found it very difficult, with the weight that I'd put on, and it was a very difficult time in my life for not only my physical recovery from having the babies, but also my mental health, to be honest. And you've got a new baby and it's like a bomb's gone off. Like your life just blows up and you've got to look after this baby. But I myself felt like I got lost in all of that. You're caring for them, but you're not really caring for yourself. So, Kiara, I give you some advice that once you have your second baby, and it is harder with the second baby because you have a sibling to look after as well, you've got to take care of yourself. You have to set aside that time. You've got to get the village around you and the support network, and you've got to really start planning that now. And I myself knew how hard it was my first pregnancy. I didn't have postpartum depression, but I definitely struggled postpartum. So I made a wellness plan, like a postpartum wellness plan, actually wrote it down and shared it with my family and was like, okay, I'm going to need you to pick up Arnold twice a week from school. Please, 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 please. I'm going to need Ed. You never do the supermarket because that's usually my job, but you're going to have to do the supermarket, buddy. And here's the list. This is what we get weekly. Can you just, and here's the menu for the week. I just needed all hands on deck, and just these little things that helped out just relieved a bit of pressure and helped me. So maybe make a postpartum wellness list, or I had a little document I circulated, and it just helped me, because people don't know how to help and they want to help. You got to tell them. So I hope, Kiara, that helps you. Long answer for your question, which is really just a no. You don't have to train for birth, okay? But staying physically active and being strong and fit throughout your pregnancy is definitely going to help you with your postpartum recovery and help you throughout your pregnancy. So still stay active for me. That is absolutely the greatest thing that you can do at this point. Thanks so much for listening to Bounce Forward. I love having your company, so please DM me on Instagram at tiffhall_XO and let me know what questions you'd love me to cover. Don't forget to rate and review me on your podcast app. Speak soon. Happy days.